In today's video, we're going to be running through the 5 things you should stop doing after you're 60 to enjoy your retirement. I'm a certified financial planner, and for over a decade now, I've seen people doing things after they're 60 that prevent them from ever enjoying their retirement. Unfortunately for retirees, the fear of falling behind with retirement can force many to panic and make the wrong decisions that can have hugely detrimental impacts on their retirement. So today, not only am I going to cover these 5 things, but I'm also going to show you how to prevent them from impacting your retirement. So let's get into the video. Now, these first couple of points stem from the people that we see who either lack confidence in their plan, or worse, they're overconfident in their plan. And the first one is they have a one and done mindset about their retirement. What I mean is that they are people who are setting up their retirement plan like it's a chore to be completed and then forgotten. Sort of like, I need to restain the back patio in my backyard and then I can forget about it. Speaking of backyards, my son's best friend's dad has a degree in agriculture, and he's one of those guys whose lawn looks like a golf course fairway. And I asked him, how much work is it to keep your lawn looking that way? And he said, at first you need to give it some extra effort, but after you get everything going in a certain way, the time and the effort gets a lot easier. Well, setting up an enjoyable retirement plan happens in the same way. Once you get past some initial work, it's easier to keep up with, but you do need to keep up with it. If you want to have an enjoyable retirement, you can't treat it the same way you would want to maybe treat your 401k. With a 401k, in most cases at least, it's sometimes good to set it and forget it. Even after you have a solid plan set in action, it's important that you pay attention and check in with it, because the consequences are just too catastrophic not to. You want to check in with your plan for several reasons. You want to check in with your spending. You might be overspending. You might be underspending. You might have the opportunity to refill your emergency bucket, and you might want to catch that before the end of the tax year. Or maybe there's a number of other tax planning opportunities that can come up. You also want to check in with your allocation and, of course, be rebalancing in a systematic way. You need to make sure your RMDs are coming out properly, and any other number of things, including if your life situation changes and you need to make some significant revisions to your plan. So if you want to have an enjoyable retirement, you'll want to make sure your plan doesn't fall apart down the road, and the key is to catch problems and opportunities early. It's not like you need to be looking at it every day or every week or every month. But how often should you look at it? If you have somebody doing it for you, like an advisor, maybe they're looking at it every 3 to 6 months. So for you, it could be acceptable for you to look at it once a year. If you're really close to retirement, or you're in your first year or maybe 2 of entering in retirement, you might look at it more frequently, and that's good. But just like my friend's amazing lawn, it can be less frequent as you get settled into a routine. And as you progress through retirement, you're going to go through different phases. And that means different things are going to become important to you. And that's another reason why it's not one and done. The second thing people should stop doing is trying to relive their working years when they retire. You know, something that can be very liberating is to realize that you don't have to live life according to what's important to someone else, or in the same way as when you were working. I think everybody should question what part of your life brings you the most reward and joy, because many retirees fall into the trap of trying to maintain a certain lifestyle or even elevate their lifestyle to match their peak earning years. And that can just lead to a lot of unhappiness and maybe even unsustainable overspending in retirement. You know, whenever we see people acting this way, sometimes we have to have a come to Jesus meeting, and we got to point out, hey, you're making $300,000 per year, you're 7 years from retirement, and you're only on track to replace 35% of your income because you're under saving, you're overspending, and you're finding it impossible to let go of some things. If you dig deep and you find out what really makes you happy, you can make this work, but you're gonna have to get ready for a lifestyle that's just not like your peak earning years. We want to have a long-term sustainable plan, but sometimes we get caught up in thinking things are important because we've never dug deep to find out what truly makes us happy and brings meaning to our life. I remember one family who said the light bulb came on for them when they realized they were living in a 3,500 square foot house, but they only used 1,000 square feet of it. And here they were stressing about their retirement home and what it was going to look like, and they wanted to live in 2 places. And the aha moment for them was when they realized that there was a certain style of home that made them very happy. And because it was smaller, they decided to build that smaller, more enjoyable home in their home state. And then they could buy or rent a condo in that other state where they only wanted to be for part of the year. So when they dug into the question of what they really wanted, what really made them happy, they discovered that it didn't cost as much as their current lifestyle. So the main thing that kept coming up for them was, number 1, they wanted to be in good weather as much as possible. Number 2, they wanted safe walking trails. And 3, they wanted to be close enough to an airport so it was easy to come and go. So if you think that you might struggle with this, do this. Start with making a list. And if you're married, share it with your spouse. What do I want more of and what do I want less of? So make a column for more of and a column for less of. I want more slow mornings. I want more walks in the park, more time with my grandchildren, time in the woods, more health, whatever comes to mind. I want less busyness, less financial stress, fear of the future, hectic schedules, etc. And then make another list of what are my wants versus my needs. And you can get a spreadsheet out and you can write down all of your categories of spending and you can question your spending and find out what's really important to you. Now, doing this, it's not everything you need to do, but it's going to get you started. And I want to encourage you to really do this type of work because it can help you to create a stable financial plan so you can enjoy your retirement. Now, if you want to learn more about how to build a successful retirement plan, make sure you take a look at the second link down in the video description so you can watch another video that breaks down everything you need to know. Now we're on to point number 3, and point number 3 is that we should stop delaying lifestyle decisions due to our new retirement income. So my observation is that people step into retirement very cautiously and many times with some anxiety, and we put off decisions that we need to make that affect our lifestyle because of the changes that are coming down the pipeline. There are housing decisions, travel decisions, health decisions, social life decisions, relationship dynamic decisions, financial planning decisions, and a whole host of things that tend to stack up and make the anxiety and the uncertainty of the future a lot worse. Listen, we don't like change. And your next chapter represents a big change, especially our new income in retirement. And by the time all of these decisions come to a tipping point and causes the near retiree to act on it and try to face these things, it tends to be long overdue. And it's not uncommon for people to try to explain to their financial planner something that we already knew about them. And it sounds something like this. I really see myself spending a lot more money in the early years of retirement because I want to make sure I enjoy it because I may not be able to enjoy it as I get older. And then they usually add in, and I'm not really sure how I can do that with my new retirement income. In other words, there's a lot of decisions I'd like to plan for and take action on, but I just haven't done it yet. If you felt that way, I think people would like to know your thoughts in the comments because I think a lot of other people would find comfort in knowing that they're not alone. So when people express this, we often say, yes, that can be planned for, and what you're describing is commonly called the spending smile, where we spend more money earlier in retirement, less money as we go on in retirement, and then it rises back up towards the end of life to cover healthcare, and it sort of looks like a smile. And something that you might find helpful to hear is that it's okay to tiptoe in retirement. It's okay to move forward little by little and not always have an abrupt retirement date. And the way that shows up in people's lives is that they either find a way to reduce their work for a few years, or they plan to take a different job for a few years and work part-time. Or they can't do either of those things, so they do practical little things like pulling money out of their retirement account and sending it to their checking account, even though they don't need to be spending that money right now. They're just getting used to that happening. Or they take 2 weeks off from work and they don't go on a vacation. They just live life as if they weren't working to see what that's like. But what I hate to see people do is put off the decisions that they need to make so that they can retire at some point because they're anxious or fearful. I'm a big fan of seeing people retire as early as possible, or at least increase the joy in their lifestyle as soon as possible, because you're gonna live longer that way. Now, my next point has a lot less to do with confidence in your plan and more to do with things that financially affect you if you do them. So point number 4 is we have to stop avoiding estate planning. We avoid estate planning. We hate it, we hate it, we hate it. It's a mysterious, intimidating topic that 98% of us put off as long as possible. But really simply put, estate planning is identifying the things that you want to happen and planning for them to go that way. Things like, who do you want to receive your assets and when do you want them to receive it? Do you want your assets to go to your spouse first? Do you want others to receive things all at once, or do you want to throttle that out little by little? Do you want privacy so nobody finds out your personal financial situation? Do you not mind dealing with the courts if someone has to deal with the courts, or would you prefer to maybe avoid them? Avoiding the conversation is one of those nagging things that will prevent you from enjoying your retirement. We avoid it because we don't want to think about dying. We avoid it because we have a lot going on in life and it's one of those things that we can just do later. But here's what most commonly goes wrong, okay? Many times there's an inadequate documentation and record keeping, and this leads to miscommunication amongst family members, things going to probate, and a whole lot of time and effort to fully understand what you own and who it goes to, and all that leads to mistakes, lots of time, and lots of stress. And the other one is failing to update beneficiary designations. We've seen assets go to beneficiaries who are no longer alive, and we've seen assets go to people whom we know that person no longer wanted them to go to, and we've seen designations that caused unfavorable tax treatment and cost unnecessary taxes to be paid. It's not smart to put this stuff off. Because we had a single 60-year-old lady who was 1 year away from retiring. Sadly, she passed away, and as we were helping gather things for the estate, there was one 403B retirement account that she had never fixed the beneficiary designation on and mistakenly sent that very large account to a trust rather than the intended children. Now, the trust didn't qualify as a see-through trust, and taxes had to be paid in less than 5 years rather than over multiple decades. Not a small tax mistake at all. If estate planning seems overwhelming, it doesn't have to be. It's just like anything else in financial planning. It's just a process of identifying the simple steps of what you need to do and then walking it out over time, just like you do with every other part of financial planning. Now, if you want extra help in planning a financially successful retirement, click the first link in the description and my team and I will take a look at your exact situation and help you come up with a game plan. Now, the next thing people should do is stop ignoring healthcare costs. This is something that may come back to bite you financially. Avoiding healthcare costs will prevent you from enjoying retirement due to knowing in the back of your mind the cost of healthcare is somewhat of a mystery, and it bothers people to, just like estate planning, not plan well for those healthcare costs and what they're likely to be. We see people entering retirement and the healthcare costs seem pretty manageable at first, but then the cost of a dental implant comes up or their out-of-pocket costs were higher than they anticipated. So here's a couple of things to note. Healthcare is not a one-time bulk expense. I know we hear quotes where people talk about you need a multi-six-figure lump sum to cover healthcare and retirement, and that seems overwhelming, but you would never think about your cable bill costing you $86,000 in retirement over 30 years. You think about it in terms of $60 a month. So think about your healthcare costs in terms of a monthly cost as well. But just know that your monthly premium, plus you're going to need to have that extra out-of-pocket cost figured in, which brings me to the second point. And that is, premiums are predictable, and that should provide some level of comfort because it makes that part of your healthcare easier to plan for, as long as you figure the cost of healthcare. T. Rowe Price recently said that those premiums cover 73 to 81% of a retiree's annual healthcare costs. By far, the biggest mistake we see people making when it comes to their healthcare is either ignoring it and they're not looking at the big picture ongoing costs, or they're not necessarily ignoring it, but they're not including the out-of-pocket costs. They're going to keep coming up and they're going to be ongoing. Healthcare is not a one and done expense. It's something that you plan for and also you keep up with. So here's what you can do if you're someone who has been ignoring healthcare costs, and how you can develop a strong healthcare plan so you can enjoy your retirement. So first, visit Medicare.gov and mymedicare.gov, and you can learn what your monthly premium is going to look like. 2, create a budget for out-of-pocket costs, and you're going to learn that at those websites as well. And a recent retiree shared a great tip with me that I think it's worth mentioning. And they said they keep enough cash in their home to cover their annual out-of-pocket expenses for healthcare, including their medicine. And I think that's probably a good idea because it keeps you aware of what that annual spending looks like. Plus, if there's some sort of crisis, they can make sure they're still able to pay for it. The recent hurricanes on the East Coast is teaching us that having that extra cash is a good idea so we can pay for this sort of stuff as it comes up. And 3, I can't fail to mention that Medicare does not cover your long-term custodial costs. So you're going to want to explore your options there. So maybe we should do a video on the different ways that you can cover long-term custodial care. Let me know in the comments if you want to see a video on that from my perspective. So if you do these 3 things, monthly premiums, out-of-pocket costs, and you explore your long-term custodial needs, you won't be ignoring the issue. And you'll probably find that you will feel a whole lot better about experiencing an enjoyable retirement. So following this video, you know exactly what to avoid in the years leading up to retirement so you can enjoy a safe and secure retirement. However, if you want myself and my team of professionals to have a look at your exact situation and help plan a financial roadmap to help you have the most stress-free retirement possible, click the link in the description and set up a time for us to talk. I'll see you in the next one.